a first from the United States. The US has its first openly gay candidate from a political party, a major political party, to make a bid for the White House. Republican Fred Karger says his presidential candidacy is about opening up the party to young people and reminding people not to gay bash. But Mr. Karger is not a one-issue political lightweight. Over the years, he's been a senior figure in the campaign teams of Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr., though he hasn't, in fact, run for office until now. This very moment, he joins me now from Sacramento in California. Fred, the phrase that's obviously always quoted, the first openly gay candidate, a phrase that you use and so on, and the campaign uses and so on. Obviously, one of the reasons for saying that is because it's true and something you believe in, but do you think it's also a vote-winning phrase as well, Fred?
Well, yes, in certain circles, and it gets me a seat at the table being the first openly gay candidate for President of the United States in history. But, I'm a lot more than that. I'm a moderate Republican trying to bring younger people in and have an effect on the Republican Party and talking about issues like education reform and jobs first. So, yeah, there's a lot more to Fred Karger than just being the first gay candidate for president.
You're thinking of the younger voter more than the older voter, are you?
Well, yeah, the kind of mainstream Republican Party, the 65-year-old and up voter has not been quite as enthusiastic about my candidacy as what I'm terming the 18 to 29-year-old demographic. I've spent a lot of time speaking at colleges and universities all over this country, particularly in the first two states of Iowa and New Hampshire, and I've been getting a tremendous reception there and registering new voters and bringing people not just into the Republican Party, but bringing younger voters into the political process. I'm very excited about that.
It's more difficult for you, in a way, having to persuade fellow members of your party when the party in question is the Republicans more than the Democrats. The Democrats might be a bit more open to what you're saying, yeah?
Well, many have, and I've gotten a great reaction. I had a quick meeting and met the new chair of the Democratic National Committee. I've got a great picture and had a great meeting with her predecessor, Tim Kaine. And so my first meeting with a state party official in New Hampshire was with Ray Buckley, who's the chairman of the Democratic State Party in New Hampshire. So I'm reaching out, crossing party lines. I'm calling myself an independent Republican. I'm independent in many ways. I was a maxed out donor to Hillary Clinton last time. So, I like a lot of Americans, I want to go with the candidate, someone that I agree with on issues, someone who's not so polarizing. And that's what I think Fred Karger is. I want to kind of create a new niche in this Republican primary for president, and I think I'm starting to have some impact.
And of course, you've never actually held public office, but what do you think yet? But what do you think is the most important quality that a president needs? You've studied presidents, you worked for Reagan, and so on and so forth. What's the most important quality an American president needs to have?
Well, I think at this juncture, we need someone who's, tough. We need someone who can bring back that optimism and that ability to get along. I'm terming it the American spirit. And, I worked very closely with President Reagan, and he just had that never say die attitude. He came into office in 1981 in dire straits. The economy was terrible. The inflation was at 10.5%. Unemployment was almost where it is today. But he just kept that American spirit up, and he talked us out of that recession. I want to bring that optimism. We got a kind of a mediocre field, I think, of Republican primary candidates. Mitt Romney just announced today. He's kind of, yesterday's news, and we don't quite know where he is on the positions. I don't think he can cut it. And I'm actually going to be filing some papers next week in his home state of Massachusetts about his residency. He's kind of fudged a lot in his political career, and I'm going to be calling him out on that. So, I want to kind of liven up the debate in the Republican primary, but I want to talk about bringing back that optimism that is so American, that we need to light a fire under this country. And President Obama, I think, has failed miserably on that front.
But at the same time, if you were running, if you were successful, you got the candidacy and so on, would you think that Sarah Palin would be a good partner on your ticket. Would you get on well together, do you think?
I like Sarah Palin. I've actually met her in Alaska when she was mayor of Wasilla. We had she was a speaker at a luncheon I was up for, and I love her spirit. I love what she's doing for this process. I love the fact that she's gumming up Romney's big day in New Hampshire. She's someone who will excite this campaign. It's, as I say, a mediocre field of Republicans, and I would welcome her. I'm not, speculating about a vice presidential pick at this point, but, there are a lot of attractive people out there, but I just welcome her to the campaign. I hope she files. I was the first to file back on March 23rd, and everyone's kind of following my lead, so I would welcome Sarah Palin to the primary.
Well, we thank you very much for joining us, and we'll look forward to checking in with you later to see if it's going the way you hoped. Thanks a million for being with us.
Thank you, David. I enjoyed it.
Thanks there to Fred Karger. Still to come, we'll be hearing about the darker side of comedy as well as the laughs, and finding out the truth behind the fact that there may be 17 missing pyramids of Egypt somewhere under the sand. Dramatic stuff in a trice.